everybody, and welcome to the second MCU episode of our chronological watch through, or however we want to say it. I am Mike Albertin, and who are the angry individuals with me tonight?
You wouldn't like me when I'm hungry, Michael K. Hughes.
And Bill Hulk Smash Tucker.
Those were both funny, by the way.
I mean, this was actually for me it was average. I never think too much about those things.
You know, that's part of the joy of Games My Mom Fun. You don't think about anything; you just open your mouth and stuff comes out.
That's really the main thing I thought about when I was watching the movie. I'm like, what's going to be my witty opener today? There's not a lot of good lines in this movie, so I'm like, well, that's the obvious one. I'm going to steal that.
Yeah, and I took the second most obvious, so
there's not. I mean,
Mr. Green.
Yes, yeah. I should introduce what we're going to be talking about, as you can obviously see in the title of this episode. We're going to be talking about the Incredible Hulk film that came out in 2008, not the 2003 film, because that's not part of the MCU. This one loosely is part of the MCU. So 2008 film with Edward Norton. Yeah, remember him in the other movies? The other Avengers movies? Yeah. We'll talk about that too. But this is our second time going as we continue on. So, and I'll just start out with, as one thing one thing about this movie is I want to say it wasn't supposed to be part of the MCU when they first started when this first started getting published, right. Or not published, but produced, because this was actually made by a different studio. Production company was Marvel Studios and Valhalla Motion Pictures, but distributed by Universal Pictures, which is why I own a DVD and did not watch this on Disney Plus.
Right.
Exactly.
It's not under that banner.
Yeah, we talked a little bit before recording. I kind of got the same impression. Like that end credit scene, pre-end credit scene. We'll get to that. Yeah. But it almost feels like that was filmed after the fact, after Iron Man blew up, and they're like, "Oh, we'll just make this part of that universe then."
Well, when I was first watching this, I had seen this movie back when Age of Ultron came out, or right before Age of Ultron came out, when I was excited for Age of Ultron. So that changed. And I didn't catch it when I was rewatching this a couple days ago. In the opening, because they do a great job, but they skipped the whole origin story of Hulk because you just got that 5 years before in the 3 hour long Hulk film I never saw. I saw parts of it.
Well,
so that's partly why.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, that's the Ang Lee one you guys are talking about?
Yes.
We're gonna have to do an episode on that someday.
Terrible. 138 minutes.
I haven't seen it.
I've seen parts of it. I watched part of it, and I turned it up, and I stopped watching it and went and played Final Fantasy 11. Not a good decision. That's another story. But that's why in this movie, when it starts off, they give you the whole origin story of how he becomes Hulk in the intro credits. When they're kind of showing, they show you him sitting in the chair. They show the experiment gone wrong. They show him fighting with Liz's father, which I can't think of his name all of a sudden.
General Ross.
Yes, that guy. And they do all that because that was, I felt at least back then and now, is that they were giving you the story because they just gave you a whole movie about the origin, so they didn't want the bore the watcher again, or the viewer.
Yeah, but here's my thing with that. And again, this is the first time I've seen either of the Hulk movies. I never saw the Ang Lee one, and so I came into this one brand new, really only knowing the Mark Ruffalo character, who further, in the real Hulk, as we now come to know him. So when that's going on, I'm watching this, classic late 2000s, electronic crunchy music opening credit scene and I'm like, oh, this is the backstory. Like, this is the point where I'm supposed to pay attention. This is the point where I'm usually eating popcorn and trying to find my seat. No, this is paying attention. And I get why they did it, but from what I read, it turns out that the director actually filmed all that stuff. Like, he filmed those sequences, but it didn't fit into the actual movie, so they just kind of chopped it up and shoved it in there. And that's why it has Edward Norton in there, and it has Liv Tyler, and it has all the characters that are going to be in this film. It was actually, that was all done. That was all work done, but for some reason, I don't know why, they decided to just smash it all into this tight little 2-minute opening credit sequence.
The movie's almost 2 hours as it is.
And I get it.
That.
Yeah. Yeah, that's from what I understand. Someone online or on the internet may refute away. That means you're listening and you're paying attention. So good on you, person, to refute.
Well, if it's on the internet, it must be true.
Exactly. I mean, I check all my sources. Of course I do. So
like the famous quote from Abraham Lincoln: "Don't trust what you see on the internet." So, I love that one. That floats around every so often.
Yep.
Yeah, he would know. He would know.
What I did want to say before I off track my own self is in that opening scene, there also is when they're looking at all the different weaponry. One of the weaponry, like the trucks with the sonar or the loud making things, we'll say the sound ones. I can't think of the word I want to say. They say Stark Industries,
right?
On, and that's like that's one of the only two connections this movie had to Iron Man.
Yep.
Just
the second one I think is when they're taking out the blue goop to turn Tim Roth into a monster body horror creature. It also says Stark Industries on it, which again we'll get there. That's in my notes.
I didn't catch that.
Yeah, it says Stark Industry on the canister, and it's like, so who at Stark Industries is making blue creature group? Which division is making the blue creature group? I don't know.
Well, they do explain that later on in a bunch of the MCU stuff, and it's like in the Captain America movie, it gets kind of there.
Okay,
we'll get there.
All right, fair enough.
Speaking of, they do mention the super soldier serum, and they mentioned S.H.I.E.L.D. a couple of times, so they're trying to get it all canon, I guess.
Oh, also,
yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. In the comics, I want to say S.H.I.E.L.D. was involved with the super soldier program in the comics, so that was something that they just kind of following along with.
That's fair. I didn't catch the S.H.I.E.L.D. references this time around.
I didn't either.
Huh, okay,
I wasn't paying enough attention.
Yeah. So after they get Banner's computer, they go through his emails and say Mr. Blue and Mr. Green. Ross says he put those terms into the S.H.I.E.L.D. database, so if anyone uses those, he would they pick it up or whatever.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. Wow. That totally blew by me. Okay.
Another thing I want to mention,
sorry,
quick is
I was to say
those that. Oh, you're good. For those that do know, most people, as we had already said on this podcast, most people know Mark Ruffalo as the Hulk, as Bruce Banner, because he goes on from Avengers on. I want to say Edward Norton didn't have a good time with this movie and had a bad time with production and everything, and that leads to why he didn't come back.
Oh, is that why? Okay.
Something like that.
Yeah. Like he blamed Marvel for the script or something, so it was a bad script. And that's why.
It's not great. It's not great. They don't get a lot to work with.
Well, it's Hulk. You don't. Mm-hmm. I mean, the movie starts off with, after you get your 2-minute little intro to what Hulk is, you have Banner, who's been on the run for, I want to say it's been a year or so he's been hiding, or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, it's like 100
years.
Yeah, a couple years, and it's 100 and something days since his last incident, and yeah, it's been multiple years. Yes.
Okay, I should have wrote that down, but I did not. And I think it's cool. Like, you have him working in Brazil, which I recognize immediately when I see that city in Rio. I want to say it's Rio de Janeiro.
Yeah.
Because of Call of Duty 2 or Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. There's a level of that in that game.
Okay.
I want to say it's 2. Maybe it's 3. I don't know, but I recognize it from there partly, and it's in a lot of games. But that doesn't matter. But it's just cool seeing that city, and then you start off with him, and he's working at a bottle company, and I had forgotten most of this opening. I always had to remember the Stan Lee cameo that comes up shortly after this, where he's working on a machine, he cuts himself, and the blood drips, and he runs down, he stops the machines, he cleans up the blood, then you see a little bit of blood got into the bottle of pop or soda. Or Coke, if you're in Texas, right? Isn't it Coke in Texas?
It's just soda. It's soda. Just don't call everything Coke, because that's. I mean, look.
Yeah, I think that's a southeastern thing.
I think so. I don't know. Yeah, just.
I thought it was Texas. Never mind my joke then.
Get with the times. Get with the times.
But I mean, that's kind of your intro to like how paranoid he is, and how he's aware of who he is and what he is, and he's trying to deal with it. Like I do like that scene. I love when they do the Stan Lee cameo, which becomes, a classic staple of this franchise, where he's sitting there, he drinks the soda pop, drops it, and then they find out, hey, gamma poisoning.
Yeah.
I found it was there's a few things in that big opening. First, they really lean on his solitary life, like he's living alone.
Yeah.
He's got no furniture in his apartment. He's watching an old TV with a cat. Which, by the way, you can furnish your house, right? Like, just because you're alone and away from society doesn't mean you can't like get a dresser and a bed and maybe a rug.
He spent all his money on the computer he had with the satellite,
which was amazing. The fold-out satellite computer. Oh, and that big old chunky ThinkPad, so good. I love old technology so much. It just like, oh, that's so cute.
Well, wouldn't that thing cost like thousands upon thousands of
Oh
dollars
yeah,
even at this time?
yeah. It was
Okay.
pretty legitimate stuff. Is that
It's
the
not
first time
something
he?
you would have.
It's not the first time he reaches out to Blue, but the other thing too with the bottle factory, I didn't realize it was soda until Stan Lee drank some and killed himself. I love how he runs down, shuts down the thing. He goes down, he wipes up the one spot of blood on the conveyor belt. Sweet. He doesn't see it on the clear bottle.
I know.
Going right by him. There
I
it is.
agreed with that. I'm like, you think this guy who's super paranoid, super careful, he would have seen the damn blood in the bottle because he would have been checking that. That kind of, I mean,
Right.
I like the scene,
Impressive.
but it did rub me the wrong way a little bit.
Yeah, throw all the bottles away. And that CGI blood drop was so good. I mean,
Yeah,
that
pretty
was
solid.
beautiful. I was like some Blade. That was some Blade blood CGI. That was
Okay, now
awesome.
I can't tell if you're being sarcastic or not.
I'm being sarcastic in proclaiming its goodness. It's so good. It's so bad. It's good. That's
If
good.
you start talking about Blade CGI, I start thinking of the first Blade when he fights Frost and he comes back together, and that's
It's so bad. It's so great.
that's another episode someday. But I mean, I don't have like the fondest for Hulk even before I saw this movie back in the day. I like Hulk more now, but like that's what I thought was interesting with this movie is that they do find it like a lot of the first part of this movie before they really, I would say like maybe the first like quarter of it is just Edward Norton. I want to say before they introduce the Hulk, when they kind of start introducing all the characters, they introduce that he had the love with Betsy. You have Roth looking for him. Why he's working at that short scene when he's working at the bottle company and how he's running around the city and trade. And you get that flower, which is kind of stupid. To test to stop the blood. It doesn't do anything. But I like how it shows him being a scientist, and it shows him that he's intelligent. I guess we can go with smart guy doing smart things, as Bill said last episode.
Yeah, and that worked for me too. Like when he fixes the conveyor belt, with just by twiddling some wires. That's cool. I like that. But just that's actually a good comparison to the Iron Man. Iron Man, they did that in like 2 minutes. This movie took them 20. Like it takes them a long time to build up this character, and that's fine. I don't mind that. But it's in this kind of movie, you do want to kind of get to the good stuff almost. You kind of want to get to the good stuff quicker. It's just drawn out. It's long and yeah.
Tony's a solid character on his own with outside the armor. Bruce Banner is not the same caliber when compared to the Hulk.
Very fair. Very fair.
People are there to see the Hulk, not to see Bruce tool around on the conveyor belt.
Yes. Or try to woo a woman you never see again in the movie.
Hey, you see her one more time. You had to have that scene where he rescues her, so when he escaping, she doesn't try to throw him out the window when he drops into her naked. That's the whole point of that scene.
Right.
But yes, you're right. It's unnecessary.
Yes, the narrative device 3 is
like that part when he's fighting the guy, though. I do like the stupid joke where he's like, "You wouldn't like me." He's trying to say you wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
Oh yeah.
But instead he says you wouldn't like me when I'm hungry, and they're like, "What the hell?" Because he doesn't know the language as well.
Yeah. Call back to that earlier scene where he's watching Sesame Street, trying to learn Portuguese through it.
Yeah.
Something new. I didn't know Brazil spoke Portuguese.
I only know it because I'm getting ahead of us now. But when he wakes up after the transformation, the guy says, "I don't speak Portuguese," and he starts speaking Spanish.
That's the only way I learned it too. Was that little scene? And I'm like, oh, I learned something new from this movie.
And I think I might be just a bad person, but when I looked at my notes and I said, because I thought this woman would actually become something, the woman that he saves from the creepy guy with the weird face. I write rescues the lady (parentheses sweaty). I wasn't wrong because every time you see her on screen, she is very sweaty at all times. I guess that's probably very fair.
I think the second time it's implied she had just gotten out of the shower. That's why she's
she's naked with a towel.
In a state of undress.
This movie.
Anyway.
One thing you have that scene which is kind of stupid where you see him fight, but it also I thought was cool when they show the little monitor he's wearing, the little heartbeat monitor that keeps track of he doesn't. Except in my experience with the Hulk, it doesn't just he hit 200. Okay, Hulk time. It doesn't work that way. It's like he has to be pushed, angry, hurt, killed, like they're almost killed. Like, there are things like that trigger it, not just, oh, we're about to have sex, my heartbeat's going up. Oh, no, oh god,
yeah,
oh god.
Let's get to that point. We got to dine on that a little bit, and the blood pressure monitor. And once we get to the chase scene, we're not there yet. But we're not there yet. For me, though, it's a decent device, but we'll get there.
I didn't mind it. Like I didn't mind much about this movie, actually. I know we really didn't do overviews or overarching thoughts. This is a Marvel movie for the time. It's very, I think, like I said in the proverbial green room to Mike, I was saying that this is like a Ford Taurus, right? It just gets you where you need to go. You turn the key, it rumbles on, and it moves you forward. That's all this is. It just does what it's got to do. Nothing exceptional, especially compared to Iron Man that came out like 2 months earlier. Iron Man, like this wonderful movie that's still a top 5, I think, MCU movie for me. And then you get this, which is just Marvel movie, and it's fine. I never, like, even when they start putting together the Special Forces team after the whole bottle incident, I don't care for any of those. Like, I mean, they're all just throwaway characters because
no, they're not great.
No, I didn't care for any of that. Like that whole, and then I never cared for the character that plays Emil Oblonsky, which is, God, what the hell is that name? The actor, Tim Roth.
Yeah.
I thought he was too weak looking. I mean, even though I know Edward Norton is a weak looking Bruce Banner compared to what Bruce Banner becomes out, I'm okay with that. But Tim Roth playing the Special Forces, retired, like 40-year-old super soldier type thing, even before he gets the injection. He looked too measly and too weak to me and not buff enough.
Yeah.
I felt. I don't know.
Every time they show him without his shirt on, it's like a weird CGI emaciated body. Underneath.
Oh yeah, that was very strange.
Right.
It's very uncomfortable.
It wasn't pleasant. No.
And everything. I don't like the soldiers, but when they do attack and they go after Bruce, and you have that little scene where he runs into the bottling company where he gets attacked by the idiots that he rescued the girl from, which. You didn't really. I mean, I guess you needed a scene to make him turn Hulk. Yeah. I didn't care for that whole chase. Like, I didn't care for he's running through the town. Or, he's trying to get away from them, and then he sneaks into the building. I didn't care for that as much. But that scene when he first goes Hulk, and they play it like a horror movie, where you don't see Hulk, you just see a hand grab out and grab a guy. Like, that was. I thought that was amazing. That whole scene. Like, I loved it. Was I the only one?
Shadow Hulk, as Bill put it off camera.
Oh,
it's a very horror movie. You don't see Hulk until like the very end of that scene. It's quite cool.
I thought it was perfect. Like, I thought that was a great way to introduce this character to so many people by just hiding him. Like a normal horror movie, you're gonna hide this thing where you don't see what's happening, and it really, like, I didn't think about that last time I saw this, but it really grabbed me. Like, okay, this is so cool when you do finally see him. He's ugly as hell. Like the current Hulk we have, when they took Mark Ruffalo's face and put it on Hulk, way better than this one. But it was still cool. Like that whole scene where, I mean, other than the Special Forces are idiots, it's a cool scene when they introduce them.
Well, see, I actually had a different take on it. I wasn't as big of a fan of it. The initial, like, I agree with you, when they're running through Rio and they're, basically doing their chase sequence. The problem with chase sequences, there has to be stakes, right? There has to be something at stake for the viewer to experience. And as the viewer, I don't care who you are, that eventually Bruce is going to turn into Hulk. Like, we know that's going to happen. So we're waiting for that. And even at least me as a viewer, I'm waiting for that. Fine. Mm-hmm. So for me, as they're kind of running around, there were no stakes. The only real stakes were, and this actually I thought was really good, which again doesn't fall in line with the character, is that blood pressure monitor. That's the only thing you're concerned about. You're concerned, oh damn, that thing's gonna hit 180. Yeah. Getting close. He's got to slow it down. I like that. That was actually the only thing that gave me any sense of tension in that. And then I do admit the scene where he throws that one dude through like three plate glass windows is glorious. It was really fun, and I jumped like, ooh, okay, fun. But for me, I don't know, the horror lead in was just too slow. It took too long to get there. I don't know how I would have done it differently, so I can't complain too much. But the reveal, I can see why people would like it, but for me, I just felt it was too slow, lot of this movie is too slow. And we've discussed some of the pacing issues, which there are a myriad of. But
it seems like some scenes are just like cuts of multiple scenes thrown together, and then all of a sudden it'll just slow down and take its time with the next scene, and then it starts jumping around again. It's just so bizarre.
That's a very, I didn't think about that when I was watching it, but now that you kind of pointed out, like after the whole battle scene, you had the chase, you had Hulk, then you have him running around naked, sitting around in town, not really doing anything, getting to the truck. Like it's all of a sudden the movie just completely comes to a halt. Nothing exciting is happening, and all the antagonists can't find Hulk, and Hulk can't find anybody, and it's just that little bit. It's just kind of, it makes sense. Like I see what you're talking about.
Yeah,
it's an incredible Hulk.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like that whole sequence when again they're stalking Hulk now, right? And is that really in the Hulk's nature to just lumber around all murderous and slowly? Like I thought he was this big crazy monster who just goes ape shit and mental and throws tractors, which is what's great about Hulk.
In the comics, in any other version of Hulk, he wouldn't have stopped. He wouldn't have let him get shot in the back, look at them and walk away. He would have murdered everybody in that.
Yeah, and
that's Hulk.
So in this scene now, you have this big hulking monster. And again, if you don't know what a Hulk is, and you're just walking into this movie without any knowledge of Marvel anything, which could be. I'm not saying everyone's an expert, but you get a lot of just people shooting into darkness. Nondescript dudes in black uniforms, Tim Roth looking menacing-ish, just shooting at darkness. It just was so bloated. And I will now say the one thing that I think sinks this movie more than a lot is the fact that, let me back up 1 second. Let me back up real quick. I will never, ever, in a critical standpoint, complain about someone's appearance. Like, you'll never hear me say that. Like, oh, this person didn't look right for this part, or this person was too thin. This person, that will never happen because I know critics will do that.
Yeah.
But you should try to make Hulk's face look kind of like Edward Norton's face. And you please just some sort of facial feature, maybe the nose or his eye structure. Hulk looks nothing like Edward Norton. And the problem with that is that you lose all connection to the main character. Now this is Hulk. There's this emotional separation between sad Bruce and angry Hulk. And they're two people when they should be a extension of each other, like they are in the other Marvel movies. Mark Ruffalo, when he turns into Hulk, looks like Hulky Mark Ruffalo. Like it looks kind of sort of like him. It looks like a natural extension, where in this situation, it's such a big divide. It almost makes me feel like they designed the character and never casted Bruce. Like they designed the Hulk and then thought about the casting later. And then, all right, whoever, we'll get somebody. So that's one of my biggest problems with this. And that's the biggest problem with everything, from the emotional scenes with Liv Tyler and Hulk to the emotional scenes between, they have no chemistry at all.
No.
None.
And there's
None.
Was it just me, or when she's talking throughout this movie, there's just something seems so off by her acting. Like, I like her a lot. Yeah. I think she's great in Lord of the Rings, but for some reason it just felt like she was talking really quiet when she shouldn't have been, or something just felt off with her voice in this movie. She's very subtle, and she's not great when she has to be really, really emote, like, in Armageddon, which of course for me is just a glorious piece of garbage. I've never seen that movie. Oh, it is. Oh, you simply must. You simply must. But the glorious piece of garbage, and I adore it. But yeah, that was my biggest problem with this. Like, I'm looking at the movie poster right now, and it's actually a perfect encapsulation of what this movie is. It's a sad Bruce looking at the ground, and then the back of a monster. And that's what this movie, it's like, you kind of see this monster for 15 minutes total in the movie. And then a lot of sad Bruce just looking at the ground.
To be fair, they were like the 15 best minutes in the movie.
Oh, they were. There's no question. We'll get to body horror abomination. That was wonderful.
Yeah, well, that'll be later.
Yeah, we'll get there. But anyway, with that chase scene, that was my main kind of thing with it. But
okay. I I didn't care for, like we were kind of mentioning how when they have the whole part where he's trying to get to America, he's trying to get to Mr. Blue. I mean, the part of me was like, how the hell did he get there with no money? He ain't gonna cross the border with no ID, nothing. And I'm like, stop it, Mike. It's a movie. Shut up.
My wife said the same thing. My wife's like, how'd he get to Guatemala? Like, how'd you get there?
I mean, you can't just cross the border with nothing. I mean, all he had was a pair of ripped up shorts, and some guy gave him a coat, and he wasn't working. He wasn't trying to do anything. You just see him sit in the corner, have his hand out, and a little kid puts money in his hand. And I'm just like, yeah, it would have been like 10 years later. He made it to America.
You're a scientist. Go fix someone's car. Make some scratch for yourself. Don't sit there and panhandle, you ninny.
I would have rather had some kind of
do something with your skill set.
I don't know. It's just, a movie being a movie thing where I'm arguing about something I shouldn't be arguing about. But it did kind of throw me off.
It's worth arguing about because it's developing this guy's character. Like, again, Tony Stark, he's resourceful. Do you think Tony Stark would have sat there with his hands out in the middle of a marketplace? He would have gone and done something. And that's developing this character. And this character, you're telling, it's sad Bruce staring at the ground. Like, who wants to follow this guy?
Super intelligent character in the comics, and in Marvel itself, he's one of the, I want to say, top 5 intelligent people in the whole Marvel universe. With Mr. Fantastic, Tony Stark, I might be missing some, but I know Bruce Banner, they're all up there.
Yeah, he's up there.
And that kind of bugged me. And then when you get to America and he goes back to New York, and you have those scenes where he ends up going to the pizza place, and I mean that didn't bother me. And then you have the guy from Modern Family shows up.
Wonderfully named Stanley's. Did you catch that? Stanley's.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I did catch it.
Adorable.
There's also another cameo, like when he tries to get into the college, but they ask for an ID and he can't go. Then he ends up getting the pizza. The guard that he talks to is Lou Ferrigno.
So good.
Who's the guy who played? For those that don't know, the guy that played Hulk in the 1970s show.
Yep.
They just put a bunch of green makeup on him.
Yep. My wife yells, she's like, it's old Hulk. I'm like, that is Lou Ferrigno. Oh, nice to see you, sir.
Inside story, I almost met him. He was supposed to come to a convention I went to, but then he unfortunately canceled. I almost met him one of these days, hopefully.
This won't be the last time we talk about Lou Ferrigno in this series, because he's the voice of the actual Hulk in Avengers.
He is?
Really?
Pretty sure.
That's awesome.
I did not know that. Oh, and speaking of the Hulk TV show, there's also a cameo because Bill Bixby is dead at this time, and still dead, because that's how death works. When he's watching the TV earlier, I forgot to mention this. I know, I didn't know where else to go with that comment.
For now.
When he switched between the channels, one of the shots he sees is Bill Bixby on TV real fast in some old show.
Oh, yeah.
So Bill Bixby, for those that don't know, is the guy that played Bruce Banner in the 70s Hulk show.
David Banner.
Oh.
This is David Banner?
It was David Banner in the
old
show. Yeah.
Okay.
I screwed up.
Yep, Lou Ferrigno is the voice of Hulk in the Avengers and Age of Ultron and Ragnarok.
Get out of here. Right on.
Cool.
I love it. That's very cool.
So I learned something new.
That man needs a check. Let's do it. And he's a treasure. Good for him.
That whole scene where he goes into the college though, after like he gets to the computer and he's trying to hack and find the thing, and he's like, "It's not there." And I want to be like, "You really think the government officials are just going to leave it in a room where some guy is sitting across from you, let you in the room because you gave him a slice of pizza? Like, what do you think?" I'm like, "Come on, now they're going to make everything disappear. Like, they're not going to leave evidence for you to find." I don't know. That was another one of those scenes. I'm like, I don't buy this. But again, it doesn't matter. So.
Oh, and also one last thing in that little, because there's a lot of like references in that little scene, especially like after the big fight, and when Tim Roth starts learns because at first Tim Roth thinks like these are two different creatures. Like evidently he has some sort of monster at his beck and call.
I forgot about all that, where he figures out that they're the same thing, and then they do like a little backstory where they explain we were trying the super soldier program and it didn't work. Okay, I forgot about that.
And because I think when he was back in Brazil, they actually play the sad Hulk music.
Yeah, they do.
Yes, so good. That was great. I was very happy.
Like all that crap with Tim Roth, where he gets injected with the super soldier serum, and they're like, "What if you had all this? What if you had the body of a 20-year-old?" And he's like, "I'd be unstoppable." And I'm like, I don't know. It just.
Well, we'll get
Tim
there.
Roth
I didn't
work for me.
I see. I like Tim Roth as an actor. I think he's quite good given the right role. Did he work for this? No, I don't know. It was fine. Again, he was very workmanlike, right? He just kind of got the job done. I like Tim Roth, so for me it was fine.
He's a good actor though. Yeah, he's been in some really good movies.
Oh, of course, yeah.
But absolutely. This one just didn't. it didn't feel like he was the right character to play this, right actor to play this character.
Yeah, and did I miss this where when Bruce he went back to America? I have in my notes it says how with 2 question marks. I think that's what you were talking about, right? Like they papered over that, huh? Right?
Yep, they just show time has passed and now he's in New York somehow and he's going to Stan Lee's and he has clothes and money and enough to get something. It never explains it.
As the Hulk, he goes from Brazil to Guatemala, which is like 3,000 miles, I guess. In the night, and then it takes him another 16 days to get from Guatemala to New York. Somehow?
I can buy the Hulk part, because when you're a big hulky monster and you're running across the woods and you're jumping over things, I can buy that. Getting from Guatemala to New York in 16 days with no money, I can't buy that.
The Ang Lee Hulk actually has a bit of him doing the jumping around. So if we ever cover that, you guys will get to see that in action.
Oh yeah, I want to. So I never seen all that movie. I'm trying to keep it that way.
Neither of you have, and the more you guys say that, the more I'm like getting determined to make this happen.
I'll listen. I'll do anything for this show. Do you realize that? Well, not anything, but let's see. As far as viewing media, I'm down.
Oh yeah, the 1994 Fantastic Four movie.
That's it. Let's go. Is that the Roger Corman one?
I think so.
Let's. I mean,
or the
that could be the
David
best one.
Hasselhoff Nick Fury movie.
So
about the same time.
Oh,
down. Let's go.
But also, like the part when you first have Liv Tyler see Edward Norton when he comes out of the restaurant and he just walks in. She's standing there with the Modern Family guy I mentioned earlier. And the restaurant closed. She sees him. He runs away, and then she runs out there. He's hiding behind the garbage can, like he's Solid Snake up against the garbage can. And I'm just waiting to hear the. And then she goes back in the restaurant. She's like, "Tell me I saw what I think I saw." And I'm just like,
well, go towards him, or like I wrote that in my notes. Why are you hiding? What are you doing?
And I can understand. I thought, okay, he's going to hide because he's not going to see her right away. He literally talks to her shortly after. No, he's running away. Then she chases him down in the car. And then he stops and talks to her. I mean, but how did she find, hey, look at this guy in a hoodie. That's my ex-fiance or ex-boyfriend. Like,
and again, developing a character. This character, he's okay, Bruce Banner, we get it. He's mild-mannered. He's not a monster. We get it. Fine. But does he really have to be that much of a mope? Just say hi. Like, hi, Liv Tyler. And then he just walks away like, whoo, welp, dodge that bullet.
I mean, I like things about that, but I didn't understand why he's running away from her. And then right after she meets up, he's like, yeah, fuck it. I'm with you. I'll stay at your place. I'll take that data you got. You can go run away together. Like everything goes out the window immediately after that. And I'm like, okay, what does hiding behind the garbage can versus 10 minutes later in this movie? Like, yeah, we're all good. I don't give a shit about your life anymore. Come be on the run with me.
We'll share platonic sleeping arrangements. It's fine. We'll just be separated. Yeah. Right.
Oh, and for those that don't know, I can't remember the name, but the Modern Family guy, his character is another one of Hulk's allies that they don't get there in this movie or in MCU yet, but that's who it was supposed to be.
Huh.
I want to say Richard Sampson was his name, if I remember correctly. I have it up, but I can't find it at the moment.
Leonard Sampson?
Oh, okay. Sampson is one of the heroes for sure in the Hulk comics. He's a big guy with green hair.
Doc Sampson.
Yes. And that's what they were referencing, but they do it weird in this. But that's what the reference I felt was.
Oh, that's not the last time they'll do that in this movie.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. There's a biggie. There's a biggie coming.
Doc Sampson. That's all I could think of when that came in there. I'm like, oh, but then they're like, yeah, we're not going to worry about that.
He's in 2 scenes.
Yeah, he wasn't necessary for this movie. Like everything with, like you were saying before, Liv Tyler and Edward Norton don't really have chemistry in this movie. Like they try. She's a fine actress, but it didn't really like buy it with them. Like Edward Norton's a very powerful actor, and it just didn't bounce off each other well.
Yeah,
it feels very out of sync.
I think the script is not great. It's not set up for this. It's like. Yeah, it's not set up for this, you know.
I forgot. It's not that they go on the run right away. It's that she's taking him to the bus stop or train, whatever, bus stop. that there is no bus stop around where they're walking to, and that's when I got it wrong. I skipped the scene.
Yes, because that's you're talking about like their main when they finally turn non-platonic is after that second action scene. I think.
Okay, they have the night where she sleeps on the other bed, and he has green sheets, which I didn't catch. My wife pointed out to me.
Everything's green.
Everything's green.
Stop or the green. I get it. Green soda, green flowers, green USB stick.
What about the purple shorts? I did laugh when she pulled out the big giant purple shorts. These were sketchy.
That was very cute. Yeah.
I'm just like, oh, this movie.
Oh my God, the green. Would you stop with the green? We get it. The green.
Oh, they're not going to stop.
They're so annoyed. Stop with it. We get it.
After, like, when she's walking him to the bus stop, I'm thinking to myself, and then you have when all the SWAT's hiding and somebody moves too quickly, and then he's like, they're here, and he starts running. Like, that scene to me was just, one, I feel like they would have been a little smarter about it, and two, I'm like, this guy is so paranoid and careful, he wouldn't have let his guard down the way he did to get, like, he was out in the open just walking.
Oh, yeah, you're right. He was just traipsing about the quad.
There?
Yes.
And it didn't look like a bus stop there at a freaking college campus. Buses usually don't go to college campuses and pick you up like, all right, everyone heading to New Jersey, we're leaving right now. Like, I didn't, I don't know, it felt weird to me.
No, that's what the filmmakers, that's the only place they could get, like the only open space they could get on their budget. They're like, the bus stop could have come here. Kids,
I don't know.
Classes.
I've caught the Greyhound bus. It was in downtown Milwaukee when I did it, and there was no large campus. It was just an old building with a bunch of weird people sitting in there. So I did not buy this. I rode the Greyhound once. It was not my best experience. That was a long time ago. Oh, a random thing I have to point out that I forgot about. When they had the Stan Lee cameo we talked about many minutes ago, it happens in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, which is my hometown for those that don't know. It made me laugh. Made me smile inside.
Excellent.
So, okay, we were talking about like the campus. Like that scene is just weird where they have him run, he's trying to escape, and they're chasing after him, and it's just like he swallows the data, I want to say, at one point.
That's so
delicious data.
He gets a flash drive from Liz that has all the data from the Hulk experiment from during the prelude of this movie, and he's like, well, I can't put it in my pocket, so we're just going to shove it down my stomach. And you see him like start to gag himself, and I want to be like, is that how that works? If you stick your fingers in your mouth, things come out, not go in. I'm pretty sure. I never tried, but I think that's how it works.
That's true.
So Plus, if you swallow a flash drive, I feel like you wouldn't just spit it. I don't know. I guess there are people who who swallow stuff and then spit it back and then throw it up later. But
it comes out like later, completely pristine after a Hulk transformation. You think something would happen to it.
Because it's not in a baggie. It's not in I know with mules, they put things in bags. They do certain ways to keep it contained inside your stomach. He didn't do it. He's like, okay, swallow the slap. I go, here we go.
And his first thought wasn't to I don't know, put it in his pocket. Could have just, or stick it in your shoe. No, he decided. But yeah, no, you're right.
Anticipating the transformation.
He was anticipating. That's fair. Yeah. Okay. Fair.
Because anyway, they're trying to catch him. They ended up trapping him in a little hallway and gas him. And then I want to say, or they shot him. I can't remember.
They gas him. And
they tried to gas him. He panics.
He sees one of the guys tackle Betty, and that's what triggers.
Oh, that's
okay. I forgot. I wasn't completely paying attention, I think, at this point.
And that's an interesting thing. I'm sorry to cut you off. I'm sorry. Just the one thing that's interesting to me, and I didn't realize this until y'all were talking about it. If Hulk isn't supposed to be triggered by his blood pressure or his heart rate, it's by trauma. And that's cool. I dig that. Like the idea of your worst self being awoken via some sort of traumatic experience or traumatic fear.
Yeah.
That's interesting. This movie's not that interesting because they set it up with the blood pressure thing. And I'm like, okay, well, we'll get to that point too. And, post, when platonic turns almost non-platonic. But and that's an interesting moment. He sees Liz. See, that's me. I thought the gas was getting to him and he was just getting too amped up and attacked. And you guys mentioned that it's actually because someone tackled Liv. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. They kind of backpedal what they were going for. Usually in Hulk, it's the whole idea: you're making me angry. You get his, that's what gets him going. Usually it's hurting him, like shooting him, throwing him off a building, beating the crap out of him. Usually those are the things that trigger it. In this movie, they go a little it's a cool idea, but they don't stick with it. And then the whole scene when he does transform into Hulk, I didn't care for the scene when he's running around the college campus fighting the military, and I mean, he has some cool parts where he grabs something and makes like metal weapons, starts fighting people, and then you have fucking Tim Roth again, runs at him at one point with a grenade
Super
launcher,
soldiering, yeah.
and I did not care for that part. It just felt so like I understand. Okay, I'm Captain America. I'm gonna go take on Hulk, and it didn't work.
Well, and then also because I didn't mind the whole campus thing because again, you get to see Hulk do Hulk things, which is take giant pieces of artillery and throw them around like a maniac, and that's cool.
A lot of that.
It's great, and it's a lot of that, which is great. But it always makes me laugh. There's a Superman issue where you have the villain. Oh, go ahead, and I'll let you go for it. Yeah, go for it.
Oh, it's just the fact that hey, we're gonna shoot this guy. Oh, bullets aren't working. Shoot him some more. Just use every amount of ammo, every scrap of ammo you have. It's bound to do something eventually.
And also the problem is that they keep escalating because that's what a movie has to do. It escalates and escalates. All right. So the bullets didn't work. Let's bring out the Gatling gun. All right, the Gatling gun doesn't work. Let's bring out the rocket launcher. Let's bring out the sonic cannons, which evidently are a thing. That doesn't work.
They almost worked. The sonic cannons took them down, though.
Almost. They slowed them down. They all could have ran. They could have gotten a head start. They all could have just left.
Well, they almost do. They almost retreat like right after this part, except for Tim Roth, who won't retreat. I mean, I want to say the rest of them retreated.
Crazy Tim Roth with all his blue goop in his spine, which, by the way, was so gross and really freaked me out when he got a needle into his spine.
I really don't like needles, and when I see certain scenes like that, I'm like, ooh, I can't do it.
Yeah, when they plunge a railroad spike into his back and he puts blue goop into it, my brain goes, all right, that's going to go in your nightmare box 75. We're just going to pop that there.
I'm okay with the blue goop, just no needle. Let's forget the needle. They just want to put the blue goop and like have it somehow go in. I'd be okay.
See you in 9 months, brain. See you in 9 months, dream. That's it. But
you're welcome.
Yeah, exactly. But so Tim Roth, when he's like fine, when all is lost, and he's got his wielding two halves of a tank, he busts out his little pea shooter pistol.
Okay, that part really bothered me. I'm like, a 50 caliber is doing nothing to him. All right, let's shoot him with a pistol because this is bound to work. Fucking run,
dude! He is wielding two halves of a tank, and you've pulled out essentially a slingshot. Like, let's stop here.
Well, hey, it worked in the Bible.
Yeah, exactly.
It worked in the Bible.
But it didn't. And then he gets his ass hits a tree, breaks like every bone in his body. It's just the way they made it look. It's just like he goes ragdoll. It's just like
that was so gross. That was really rough.
My favorite part in the movie, where he's like, fantastic. Is that all you've got? And then just Hulk Spartan kicks him and he just flies into a tree. It's amazing.
It is amazing.
It was a gross scene. And then I don't remember what happened, but I know Betsy gets in the way, and then she almost gets killed by something, like I think a helicopter. I can't remember what ends up almost hitting her.
Yeah, helicopter, the gunship starts shooting a Hulk while she's right near him.
Okay, because
he throws the piece of tank, and the chopper comes down. He has to shield her from the debris and whatnot.
I couldn't remember exactly what it was, and I want to say she was trying to get to him because she realized that is her Bruce Banner, so she's trying to connect to him, which worked for me because you have the whole idea of, she didn't know he was the Hulk, and you have what goes on later on with Scarlett Johansson, Black Widow's character with Hulk, and so I could buy all that where she tries to connect to him and then he rescues her, and then you have that scene where he's holding her, walking through the flames, and I did like that scene. But you think they would have done? They're like, okay, you win, Hulk. You got the girl. We're all good. You can go now. Like that to me kind of felt. I mean, if I understand it's the general's daughter, but I still feel if they would have been like, fuck it, kill him now. Don't stop.
Right.
But I'm okay with it because I like that scene.
Yeah, and that's at that point too. Is that where when Liv and Hulk they're underneath the waterfall in this scene that is purposely staged to just look stunning and beautiful and serene.
Yeah.
Why isn't he calmed down yet? Like, everything's cool, brother. Let's look at this picturesque setting. How did you get there? It's, I guess so. Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, because the lightning flashes and he throws a rock at the sky, and
I kind of like that. That was cool. My question for you guys is, as people who probably know more about this, so where does the dividing line of Hulk being human and monster? Because and this is a genuine question, because later on in the MCU, it seems like Bruce Banner can kind of control it. He can control it himself when he's Hulk. He kind of, sort of. right? He's not destroying the other Avengers. He's not destroying innocent people. He's just going after the bad guy.
Yeah,
but like, how does that see? But does that happen? Because I'm assuming that's like a control situation where Bruce has learned, okay, this is part of me now. I've accepted him. He's a duality. In this moment, though, like, why would he save Liv Tyler? Like, why would he protect her? Like, so where does that line happen? Like, is that part of just learning how to be this monster / human? Or I don't know. I'm just curious. I'm curious from a comic book perspective. Like, that's all.
I want to say it's Bruce Banner still kind of taking over the Hulk, or it's still there where he knows this person's important. When it comes to Hulk being intelligent in the comics, that comes way, way later, when it's a weaker version of Hulk, when they kind of have come to understand each other better. Because in the comics, I want to say Hulk and Bruce Banner are two completely different people. They are not the same person at all. They're just inhabiting the same body. And they kind of can talk to each other, but they don't really. They're like, in this, they kind of are the same person they're trying to tell you, at least in this first movie. I felt like, but later on, they are far, in the comic, they are far from that.
Yeah, I don't want to take too far off the topic. I was just curious. It just popped up.
They kind of touch on it later on, because Betty's like saying that she felt like Hulk recognized her, and Bruce is like, no, there's nothing in there but rage, and she's just disagrees or whatever. That's the scene with the magically appearing hat that I sent you guys.
Oh my god, which is so good. I think it was refilling my beer. I was drinking some lovely Imperial Stout last night whilst watching this. The last third may be a touch hazy. I'm gonna have to lean on you guys for that one.
That's okay. They're
my
not
notes
much
are less than legible. I'm kidding.
You aren't missing much in that last third.
But to answer your question, Bill,
you go.
I think it's just depends on the writer, and they just kind of write Hulk however they need him to be to fit the situation. So I don't think there's any real consistency throughout each iteration.
All I know is that scene doesn't work. The waterfall don't work.
And then it felt unnecessary. And then you have them both on the run, which I kind of like, where he's like, we can't use our credit cards, you can't use your cell phone. And she just happens to have this like super diamond necklace. She's like, well, I can sell this. He's like, no, you can't sell that. And then 5 minutes later, it's sold. They're driving a truck, and I'm like,
yeah. It's cute. It's kind of like a Bonnie Clyde on the run. Yeah, they're like on the run.
That truck was terrible looking. The truck they buy must have been like, here's $1,000 here. You might make it a 10 miles before you break down. You got to pay more, but here you go, have a trip.
I just want to back up really quick to when Tim Roth is in the hospital after getting thrown into thrown in, and General, what's his name? I just call him the General. And I'm so glad. And I'm so glad we're papering over all the Army stuff, isn't it? Because all the Army stuff just sucks. Like, just stupid Army guys doing dumb Army things. Hoorah! It sucks. Whatever.
Shooting at the
Hulk. Glad we're not mentioning it. What? Oh, I'm sorry. So I was just basically gonna say that he. Sorry. So I was gonna say that after he gets thrown into, he's in the hospital and he's all kind of bandaged up. The chief surgeon or doctor says, yeah, his bones are basically crushed to powder. That is a gross sentence. That's really gross. That is a very evocative sentence. It was a pretty cool scene. But he had the juice in him.
He gets better.
Me out.
Oh, it was creepy. It was creepy. He's not in a good shape, but his finger twitches, which is a clear sign of good things to come. So yeah, so they're on the road. So Bruce and Liv are on the road. They go to the border. They say, oh, the easiest way to avoid border patrol is to not go through it. Turn right around. Leave the truck.
Oh, you mean like, because that was in New York when they're going to the campus and they're like, they can see everyone checking the cars. They just park their car, close the door. Okay, get out. Let's go. And I want to be like, okay, for one thing, somebody behind you is like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, that would have been happening.
Anyway.
I mean, I haven't been in too many traffic jams, but if I saw somebody get out of the car, I'm going to be looking at them like, what the hell? And I know someone's going to be swearing at him because that truck ain't moving. So but I mean, okay, it worked. But then he just disappears and they're somewhere else. I want to be like, by the time that you got out of that car and started to walk off that bridge, I was expecting them to get caught on the bridge and something would happen. Nope, they disappear somewhere randomly, somewhere far away. And I want to be like, somebody would have noticed, hey, these people just got out of their car because they saw your checkpoint. We're going to go find those people because they got to be important. Like, I don't know. But
I really expected someone to be like, hey, like when they got out of their car, abandoned their vehicle and turned around. I guess they just crossed the border someplace that wasn't protected, I suppose, with no money.
Yeah, movie's got a movie.
Movies Movie's got a movie. Listen, we got
That's
popcorn to
the
make.
scene with the magic hat, though, where Betty wakes him up. He's not wearing a hat. It cuts to a shot of her, and then immediately goes back to him, and he has a hat on.
That made me so happy this afternoon when you sent that over, because I didn't notice it. I must have been sipping or taking notes. That is great.
It's just one of those things where I thought that was funny too, where when he showed that, I'm like, okay, I didn't catch that. But it's just like when they get to the college, another thing, I didn't care for the second college part when they're at the one where they're going to go meet Mr. Green finally. For those that don't know, Mr. Green is actually the villain, the leader. Or no, Mr. Blue. Sorry, Mr. Blue.
Yeah.
He's the villain, the leader from the Hulk comics, which they start to get to, but they never actually get to.
I had to look that up first, but before we get to the leader and to all that, you completely papered over the romantic moment. You can't.
God!
I'll let Mike take this one because I'm sure that might have been your favorite scene. I don't know.
Naturally, he just hacked up the flash drive, so she needs to get some of that.
That's right.
Oh yeah, that's right. After he vomits it back up. Nothing turns on a woman like spitting out flash drives.
That's right. I think I read that in an issue of Cosmo. Wow, nothing really. That got nothing. Okay, fair. That's fine. Hey,
late.
They can't all be gold. That's okay. That's fine. But
anyway,
yeah,
they start making out, and the heart rate monitor, his Fitbit goes crazy, and he says that he can't get too excited.
Oh, it sucks. It sucks. It's not
practically
funny.
see the air quotes.
Yeah,
it wasn't. I don't know. It's a stupid scene. Like it just didn't feel necessary. Just let him get it on. Like it doesn't work. It's not how this works anyway. So it's like
we don't need love interests in these sort of things. We really don't. We don't.
I really love Agent Carter. So
yeah. Well, I've never. If it's a TV show, I have no idea what you're talking about. I don't know anything.
Agent Carter and Captain America first movie.
Yeah, that's different. That takes a while though. Like in these sort of movies, especially in this kind of setting, just be partners. Just be the people like, hey, we're gonna work together to figure this thing out.
The thing is kind of funny. It's just like, yeah, fuck my boyfriend I've been with for
I know.
How long. I haven't seen you in a year.
He's done.
We're good.
He's done. They have a house together. He's done. He's forgot about him.
Well, Betty probably doesn't know it, but he was the one that told Ross where to find them in the campus when they were there, when the army attacked. I forgot
about that. That's that true. Little scene that they had. His second only other scene he's in.
Yeah, right.
Anyway. Yeah, man. So anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
After the stupid sex part, when they get to the college, I don't know. I don't enjoy where they're doing the whole scene where they're trying to test him and cure him, and then he's starting to go Hulk, and then they stop it, and it looks cool. But like I know who the leader was already. As soon as I hear that when they say his actual name, I'm like, I know who you are.
Yeah, I had to look that up afterwards.
Yeah, me too.
I had no idea. I'm like,
they said Samuel Stearns, and I'm like, I wonder if that's a person. So I look at it as like leader. It's like, what?
Really big villain.
Samuel Stern is a Marvel-ass name in a Marvel-ass Marvel movie. That's that has to be something.
First letter and last letter being the same for name. They love stuff like that. First name and last name will both start with the same letter. They just, I don't know why, but especially early 60s Marvel, where a lot of these characters come from, that was their bread and butter. And
did anybody else when was Samuel Stern? Is that right? Samuel Stern.
Yep.
When Samuel Stern was on screen, the first time I saw him, I'm like, I could not stop thinking about "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?" Because
oh yeah,
that's the first thing I thought of. I was like, I am a man. I'm like, I legit was like, after this movie, I'm gonna watch "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?" It's 11:30, but that's what I'm doing.
A toad.
Yeah.
I've seen part of that movie once a long time ago and couldn't get through 20 minutes of it where I'm like, turn this shit off.
Give it another chance.
But I was also like 17 at the time, so
you've
or maybe 16. I wasn't the right age.
You've grown, you've changed. Give it another shot. It's great.
That reference is going to make my wife very happy. She loves that movie.
Yep. So good. But, anyway.
I mean, I know the purpose of that scene is to have him depowered. So that way, like, because he pretty much kind of cures the Hulk. He can't become Hulk. He ends up getting shot by the tranquilizer. I want to say he tried to escape, and then the military ends up, because they, as we said earlier, they were following the emails.
Right.
Emails! And it's in my head every time I hear email. And they go and rush him, and then they shoot him with a tranquilizer at some point, and then they arrest him and Betty. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, I thought it was cool, because then it's shortly after that they start showing you Samuel Stern's real character. The only part that didn't get me is that everyone gets in the helicopter except for Tim Roth. Nobody's like, hey, where's Tim Roth? Nah, yeah, we got Hulk. We don't give it. Like, nobody's questioning where Tim Roth went to. And that part kind of got me. I'm like, wouldn't you be like, okay, we got who's all with me? Like, you do a roll call, like check and make sure everyone's soldiers. Like, yeah, we don't need the command. We don't need the chief guy. Fuck him. I don't know. It felt weird to me. But, and then he goes and he does the same experiment and he has Hulk's blood injected into him, which I don't know if that's how Abomination is made in the comics. I don't care. I didn't care enough to look it up before this. But like that whole scene was kind of, I did like how he's like, he's trying to get Samuel Stern to do it. He's like, I'll gladly do it. You don't have to convince me. I don't care. Like, you could die. I don't give a shit. I did. He doesn't say those words, but that was kind of his mentality. I did like that because it fits the fact that he is a villain. Like, he's not a hero. He's not a helper. He's a villain.
He's more curious than caution in most things. More curious than cautious. He
does say that, yeah.
You've already got something inside of you. I don't know what it'll do. It might turn you into some kind of abomination.
He did say that.
He does say that.
This is early where they don't like the same thing Iron Man that we talked about last month, where they say, you were ironmongers. Like, they have to try to take the name and I'll slip it into a sentence without actually calling it, where later on in the movie they say fuck it, that's your name. Like,
that's your name, right? It's funny because I didn't realize that was his name. So for me, I heard Abomination. I'm like, okay. And then when I looked it up afterwards, I'm like, oh, his name was Abomination. Really? Really, oh brother, where art thou? Seriously, you have to hammer that in.
Yeah, it's early Marvel movies.
I didn't know that. Yeah,
it goes away. I want to say by Thor. I think by Thor they stopped. They're done with that shit.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, but because they just call the Destroyer the Destroyer.
Yeah, which I can't wait to talk about Thor. But and then when you have like the part after Abomination starts turning into Tim Roth turns into Abomination and he escapes, and you have Samuel Stern's character fall down and he gets his head cut and then the Hulk's blood starts, dripping onto his head. You can see his head start to expand, and that's the end of that character. He's done. But I did like how they were sowing the seeds for sequels that we never were going to get.
Yeah, he's done, not just in the movie, but into the entire MCU. We never see that character again.
No, and then I had to look him up and like, wait, so this guy was clearly a thing. And then I see Leader with his giant green forehead. I'm like, oh, I've seen that guy. He's supposed to be really smart. Clearly identified by his great big green forehead.
There's no other way to make someone show smart.
I guess
Jojo.
So yeah, I had no idea. I had to look that up, and I was like, "Oh, okay, all right. Well, it'd been kind of cool to see this guy again."
And it's just too bad that the reason why we still don't have another Hulk movie, as we kind of mentioned earlier, is that Disney owns Hulk. Like, they can use him in the Avengers and anything else, but they can't make a solo Hulk movie without having Universal. I think it's Universal in charge of distribution, and they don't want to do that, so they just will not make another until that is eventually sorted out. That's the same reason why Hulk isn't on Disney Plus.
So I guess they'll just keep making Hulk pseudo stars of movies like Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah, right.
And She-Hulk is coming too, because She-Hulk they can use, and they can use Hulk villains.
Interesting. Okay.
It's a really stupid loophole that will hopefully someday get bought out and fixed.
Yeah.
Once Disney owns everyone.
Yeah, everyone. One is the exact correct term to use here. Everyone. Yes, we will all have Mickey Mouse barcodes on our arm once they own all of us. Listen, give it 30 years.
Hey, maybe. Oh god, I want to make a joke, but I'm gonna stop myself. But then you get to the best part of this movie, and I am being completely sarcastic. And like, he gets in the helicopter, Abomination becomes Abomination. He's running around, tearing up the city, he's like, you're looking for a fight, or whatever the hell he's saying. I don't remember exactly. I do not like this part. You have Hulk you have Edward Norton in the plane. They're like, turn around, we gotta stop him. Once they see the camera and they see Abomination destroying the army, killing everybody, and he's like, you gotta get me down there. And then they're fighting, like, no, we can't. And all this other. That's my impersonation of this movie. And I just didn't I didn't really care for that scene. I mean, in my head, I'm like, there's no way in hell they're going to let you just jump out of the fucking helicopter because they just captured you. I don't care what's killing everybody. They're like, nah, you're coming with us. We don't give a shit. We'll handle it later. I mean, at least in my brain, I'm thinking that military have been like, you were our mission. That's not our mission right now. You're coming with us. But, I mean, then he jumps off he drops out of the helicopter, and Liv Tyler's almost ready to fall out of the helicopter, which I don't know. I mean, I'm terrified of heights, so I'd have been standing in the back, be like, no, you're good, Bruce. I'll see you later. Have fun. I ain't moving. I would get off my chair. Seatbelt strapped in, everything. I'd be sitting there with a bag going, I wouldn't be going anywhere near that door. But I don't know. I just thought she's barely holding on to a rope, and I don't know much about helicopters, but I feel like if you're that high up, there's going to be a lot of air pressure pulling at you or something. It's a movie. Why am I being critical? But when he jumps out and then you have him turn into Hulk, like that was kind of cool. Where he tries to turn green, but the medicine won't let him, and then he plummets to what should be his death, and he wakes up and starts killing people or attacking. It was kind of cool.
Yeah. See, I don't like this whole the first scene with Abomination, like the first half of it before Hulk intervenes, for the same reason that built in like the first scene with Hulk, because it drags on. It's just like, we're gonna not show you him. We're just gonna show some of the destruction he's doing. It's just like, get on with it. The movie's already at almost 2 hours at this point. Just get it over with.
We're in the final act.
Necessary.
We're in the final act.
Abomination is terribly, terribly ugly looking. Like, if you look at the comic version and the cartoon version, I like both of those. But this version is his spine sticking out. I hate it. I hate everything about it.
For me, it had kind of a cool body horror. Yeah, it had like a cool body horror kind of thing going on. Like his spine clearly was jutting out of his skin.
Yeah, we forgot to mention that when they give him the first injection, and he goes up to the mirror and you can see like his stomach is like caving in because his skin's stretching out the back where the spines are poking out of his spine.
It's cool.
Or whatever. Yeah.
Some John Carpenter stuff there. It was really rad, actually. Like there's like when his legs get big, like his joint forms from a compound fracture. I think I saw that, unless that was just the beer. I don't know.
It's something like
happened
that.
Gross. Yeah, like it was
really
cool.
Ugly.
It was gross, and I actually liked that quite a bit. Again, this is me just digging body horror and gross creatures. He was really, really into it. That's where my brain is. My question is, during that scene when they're in the helicopter, like you said, they were watching footage of like the carnage and the destruction. Who's shooting that? Like who's? That's what I thought. I'm like, who's taking those pictures? Like the images of them going, "We gotta turn around. We gotta get out of here." I mean, who's shooting
the
that?
army people?
I guess. I don't know.
I mean, again, I think if we should have learned by this whole episode, this movie, you got to watch it and not think much about it.
I know.
Okay, but if you look up Abomination, he looks like a giant ogre. He doesn't look like spine jutting out. Even later version, he always looks like a giant ogre, like a merman ogre. That's what I'm going to call him.
He basically looks like Super Joker in the Batman Arkham Asylum.
Yeah.
It really kind of does, right?
Yeah. It didn't do it for me. Like this whole fight, I mean, I like that type of stuff in movies, and I didn't like it in this movie. I didn't like that whole fighting where they're using the cars and hitting each other and beating at each other. Like it didn't do it for me at all.
Yeah. It's one of those, it's a classic superhero, supervillain fight, right? Superhero seems to get a bit of an upper hand. Supervillain gets a major upper hand. Superhero then says their catchphrase, makes the ground shake, which clearly that was his undoing. Clearly, I don't know. Standard.
It didn't do it for me, and I do like that Hulk's smaller than Abomination to make it show that Abomination is more powerful and bigger and faster and stronger, but none of it.
Yeah, I would have just liked it. I'm sorry, I would have just liked it if there was a little more ingenuity. I work for a company called Edgenuity, so I can't say the word ingenuity. So I'm saying edgenuity. I wish there was a little more cleverness on Hulk's part, which would have shown the viewer how Bruce is starting to learn to control it and use his intellect to kind of help the situation, rather than just Hulk smash, ground shakes. I say the catchphrase, and then the game is over.
Kind of get something like that where he smashes
Betsy.
He smashes
is what triggers him. Oh, sorry. Keep going.
Well, what else is new?
Finish your thought, then I'll say mine.
He kind of shows some ingenuity when he smashes the cop car into two and then makes like the metal gloves, which is lifted straight out of Hulk Ultimate Destruction.
It was
awesome
great.
Game.
I've never played it, but that was cool. I was a very big fan of his boxing.
That's straight out of that game.
That was cool. Yeah, I just would like, again, I like a little bit of cleverness would have been good, except just for Hulk smash, which I don't even remember why that worked. Like tripped them up, I guess. It was pretty cool when Hulk was like stabbing with his own bones, and like that was great. Taking the spine pieces out, and
I'm starting to realize you really like body horror, don't you? I was like,
listen, hey, look, Hey, listen, all right, we all have our things, but for me,
There's nothing wrong with it. I
hey,
just hate horror movies, so I don't know.
two giant a monster taking a piece of a spine out of another monster and stabbing him with it just hits a little part of my brain that just makes me happy. It's the dopamine hit. I don't know.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. But it's like the part that like the whole reason why Hulk even wins this fight, which I kind of forgot about, because he sees Betsy in the helicopter. The helicopter crashes because of I want to say because of Abomination, and that's when he goes psycho when he sees that his girlfriend is dying. And I was just like, okay. And he grabs the chain, he almost kills him, and then she's like, "No, Hulk, stop!" And then he just stops, and I want to be like,
"Why? It's a monster! Please,
Hulk would just keep
What are you
going.
going to do with that?"
But even before that, Abomination has the upper hand. He says, "I'm going to kill you, and then I'm going to kill her," and that's what triggers Hulk into the fighting back. Because it all comes back to Betty.
Like I said, I like big scenes in most of the end of these movies. I don't like this one. This is one of those fight scenes in the movies that I just don't care for. I don't like Hulk. Hulk's not one of my favorite events.
We're talking to like, there's never going to be another Hulk movie, but like, is that so bad? Like, we're gonna piss off all the Hulk fans out there, but like, what else can they do? They go Professor Hulk in Endgame, and that's about it.
Enough. Yeah, Hulk's a good complimentary character. He's a good character to have on the Avengers team and put in that dynamic. He's not a very good standalone character.
Even then, he shouldn't be on that team because, again, he's a mindless monster. So,
well, yeah, he's not controllable. I mean, I don't know. And remind me how this ends, because I promise you, I don't know why I wrote this. Again, I blame the Imperial Stout. It was delicious, but not helpful for this. I wrote Jurassic Park ending.
Okay, I can explain that.
Okay, thank you. I don't know why I wrote that.
After that, he runs away, and then it kind of cuts, and it shows like 100 and so many days, or some number pops up since incident. He's in a little cabin in the middle of nowhere, like Unabomber style, and he's sitting there. And he ends up opening a letter. He has a necklace. He puts the necklace in an envelope, closes the envelope, mails it back to Betsy with no return address. I don't know. That's just what I thought when I see cabin. I think of Unabomber. But actually, and he's sitting there. Yes.
It says on the envelope he writes the name David Banner instead of his name, so they can't trace it back. I guess.
Yeah.
So I guess it's another nod to the old series.
Because
probably
reference?
Just a nod.
I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't.
David Banner is in the Hulk in the 2003 film. David Banner's in that as the father of Bruce Banner.
Right.
During the 1960s. I have it pulled up.
Don't worry, listeners, we'll get there.
Mike, you're like, we need to go. We need to do this.
Yeah, no, hey, if you want to do it later on, I'll do it.
I wrote it right after I wrote. So here's my notes exactly, verbatim. It says, live equals stop. And then arrow, why? He's got to go. My thought was, he's got to go. Just finish him off. He can't live. And then it says Jurassic Park end, and I don't know why I wrote that. So I might. Right after that, before the cabin and him with his green eyes and this credits.
They have him sitting there. He's meditating, and then he's like trying to control the Hulk. He turns green. The eyes turn green. Then it says 0, and that's how the movie ends.
Right. Well, I don't know why I wrote that, but now, so hopefully somebody else between Liv Tyler saying stop and then us in the cabin. Some point at that point, I was reminded of the Jurassic Park. I don't know why.
I don't know.
I don't know why.
I mean, I was thinking because he's out in the middle of nowhere, that made me think of Jurassic Park, but
no, I don't know. I'll have to look at it again.
There were no dinosaurs in this. I can guarantee you that.
No dinosaurs were harmed in the.
Abomination's kind of close.
Normal Abomination, yeah, I'd go with. He could look like he'd fit in pretty short hair. This Abomination, he looks like he came out of a Saw franchise movie or something. Like after somebody went through a trap and their spines dislocated and everything. I don't know.
He's got spines in his back. It's kind of dinosaur-y.
I don't know. Gosh, dang it.
Any last things you want to say about this movie before we go to Shelf or Box?
The way I took that last scene was like what they call back to in Avengers, where he says he's always angry, so he can kind of control when he changes.
Okay, I can go with that. Oh, I completely forgot the other.
I know that.
And then we should mention, before I go farther, we got to mention the after credit scene that was added way later.
Before the credits.
Oh, it's right before the credits?
Yeah, it's like tacked on to the end.
Okay.
Just further proof that this is an actual MCU movie because it's before the credits and not after.
Okay, I don't. So it has William Hurt's character, the general, sitting in a bar drinking, and then you have Tony Stark walks in. He makes some smart remark because he's Tony Stark. And what I don't understand, he's like, something about I'm recruiting a team is his last line. He says, "Who the hell is he trying to recruit?" Is what I was always wondering on this, because if you're trying to recruit Hulk, why are you asking Tim Roth's character? He's not going to help you. Not Tim Roth, William Hurt's character, the general. I mean, was he trying to recruit Abomination? Is what I was kind of wondering. Like, I never really understood what they were exactly going for in the scene. Like, I know it's supposed to be, they're trying to get the Hulk, but it didn't really. I don't know. I didn't really know what the plan was.
That's a good point. I never thought of that. We see Ross again. I know he's in Civil War. I want to say he's in Winter Soldier at some point.
Not in Winter Soldier. He's in Civil War, the first time they brought him back. Then he's also in Avengers Infinity War, I want to say.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Or Endgame. Can't remember. It might be in both, but he for the longest time, this movie was not recognized at all in the MCU. Nothing of this movie carried over until Civil War, when William Hurt's character shows up again. And he's supposed to be in the Black Widow movie that's not coming out right now.
Well, because nothing's really coming out right now.
Yeah, you're right. He's in Captain America Civil War, he's in Avengers Infinity War, and he's in Avengers Endgame. So, I mean, because this movie, for the longest time, people were wondering, is this really even canon or MCU? Because nothing is really referenced ever again, other than Mark Ruffalo's when he shows up in Avengers. He's kind of like, he's hiding somewhere, but yeah.
He says, Hulk said, or Banner says in Avengers that he tried to basically kill himself by eating the gun. And the Hulk spit the bullet out, and I want to say I read somewhere that that's a deleted scene from this movie. I didn't actually watch the deleted scenes, which I probably should have.
Well, no, I could see it, but that makes sense. I forgot all about that line. I shot myself with a bullet, and he caught it or something. I forgot.
Yeah, the other guy spit it out.
I can't wait to watch that. That is one of the best movies ever. All right, I think that about wraps up everything to say about this movie.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, pretty much.
Let's go to shelf or box. We'll start with a positive note, so I'll go first. I'm actually putting this on the shelf. As much as we butchered this movie, cut it to pieces in this podcast, I actually really had a good time watching it. As long as I didn't think too much about it and drank a beer, I was good to go. I was enjoying myself. I didn't care for the third act a whole lot, but I was playing my little coin master game, my phone, and enjoying myself. Just watching the movie. I was multitasking that's what I do. And I was happy. I was completely entertained. I watched half of it, took the dog for a walk, came back to finish the other half, was all excited to finish it. And the ending kind of was like, in that last fight. But overall, I had a great time with this movie. To me, it was still fun, even though now that we talk about it and we cut out, and I'm like, wait a second. It's still going on the shelf because I had a good time while watching. So, how about you, Mike?
Not as positive as going in the box. Because, as we've kind of alluded to, this does not feel like an MCU movie. It doesn't feel like it was supposed to be an MCU movie. I'm not a super huge fan of the Hulk, and the only scenes I liked were the action scenes, and everything else is just weirdly paced. It's either too fast or too slow, and I just didn't enjoy 95% of the movie. I guess kind of sums it up.
Yeah. For me, I'd probably this has to go in the box. This can't go on the shelf. I'm looking for the whole show. I've been looking at the poster for the Incredible Hulk, and I just thought it should really be titled "The Mediocre Bruce Banner," because that's what this movie really is. It's the puny Banner. yes, the less than substantial Bruce Banner. It's a Bruce Banner movie.
Yeah.
And it is. And unfortunately, Bruce Banner's not an interesting enough character to push an entire movie, especially if your goal is to really get to the big Hulk fights. And if you want to make a Bruce Banner movie, fine. You probably could, but you can't live in both spheres. You can't try to be summer blockbuster action movie and try to be sad, mopey Bruce Banner movie. And since it's just that kind of bipolar focus just doesn't work and clashes, combined with the fact that there's just a bunch of technical issues, there's pacing issues abound. It's just it's like it's a car with a broken transmission, like it's stopping, it's starting first gear, then stalling, and it's terrible in that regard. there's some fun to be had. Thank you. There's fun to be had, but you got to look for it. And I do think a couple cocktails or beverages of your choice is required to mine that joy out of it.
It helps.
It does help. It does help, but looking at it from a purely critical standpoint, that's gotta go in the box.
See, that's my problem is I don't drink, so I can't enjoy it the way it's meant to be enjoyed.
Yeah, it's like so I can't watch Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. That's not happening. No chance on that. But yeah,
you don't need alcohol for that movie, though. I think you need something else.
It's got intoxicants built into the script.
I kind of blew my brother's mind earlier because I finished watching this. I said, I remember liking this a lot more. I think I actually like the 2003 Hulk better than this movie.
Okay.
And he couldn't comprehend. And he's listening to this, so there you go.
Okay.
I can't comprehend either.
I'd like to check that out. Yeah, I'd like to check that out. I do like Ang Lee as a director, so I'm very curious what kind of more artsy director can do with this kind of subject matter.
It's very artsy.
I was into that. I can get down with that. I'll have a couple glasses of wine.
What I remember, it involves like giant dogs at some point chasing after Hulk.
Yep, that's true.
That's all I remember about that movie. Because, like I said, I started watching it, then I got up and walked away, and never came back.
Oh,
great.
Man. We gotta look at that.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I went to go play Final Fantasy 11, which was a mistake. For anyone that knows Final Fantasy 11, that's a mistake.
Should have just kept watching.
Yeah, I shouldn't have played Final Fantasy 11 ever. I should have quit that. That's a whole other story. That game caused so many issues in my life later on. But I think, we covered just about everything that we need to say. I want to give a quick, I think it's time for some plugs, though, real quick, I should do. First, I want to give a quick shout out to our awesome intro and outro, courtesy of Bulby, aka Mike Stoney from his EP Bite the Bullet. Song is a Cool Kid Squad. You'll see a link for his YouTube channel in the show notes. I also want to say, if this is your first time listening to us, this is the MCU thing that we've been doing now. This is the second episode. We'll be doing one each month, at least for now. Unless we do, who knows what's going to happen with us. And we also got tons of comic episodes. We got tons of game episodes I do every week. So definitely tune in. There's lots of games my mom found stuff for you to listen to and keep you busy. And next week, we'll be covering, or not next week, well, wrong thing. Next month, when we do another one of the episode, we're going to be covering Iron Man 2, which is the next one to follow in the series, which I can't wait to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
I really haven't not seen it for a couple years. I really like Iron Man 2. I think I saw it last year. I think it's a great movie. I know I'm wrong, but I really like it. So,
spoilers.
I know it's not a great movie.
Yeah,
I enjoy it, but it's not great. But yeah, we'll get to that. So I want to thank everyone for listening, and we will see you guys next month with Iron Man 2. Bye, everybody.